They said no human could ever touch her, that the sea would swallow anyone who tried. But one stormy night, a lonely fisherman heard a song, soft, sad, and impossible to forget. And when he looked out across the waves, he saw her, a mermaid. Her tears looked like pearls, and from that moment, his heart was no longer his. This is the story of forbidden love, of waves that tried to keep them apart, and the boy who dove into the deep just to hold her hand. Welcome to the mermaid who fell in love with a fisherman. If you are just joining us on this channel for the first time, please subscribe, like and share. You wouldn't want to miss this unforgettable story. The storm came without warning. 1 minute, the night was calm. The next minute, the sky split open with a roar and rain poured down like the heavens were weeping. Wind screamed over the rooftops, bending palm trees and rattling windows. The waves at the shore grew wide and violent, smashing into the rocks with such fury that even the old fishermen whispered prayers behind locked doors. But one person wasn't afraid of the storm. His name was Jide. He walked the shoreline barefoot and soaked to the bone. Lightning flashed above him, turning the sky into broken glass. Thunder followed like a drum, shaking the ground, but Jide didn't turn back. He couldn't. His fishing nets were still at sea, and for a young man who lived alone with no family left and no one to lean on, those nets meant survival. At 23, Jide had the hardened hands of someone twice his age. His deep brown skin was as a result of the sun's kisses from years on the water, and his eyes had the quiet sadness of someone who had seen too much too soon. His father was also a fisherman. He had been swallowed by the ocean during a storm like this, and his mother, she had died when Jide was still small, her memory fading like a song carried off by the wind. Now, all he had was the sea, and tonight, even the sea was angry. He waded into the water, tugging on one of the heavy nets. It resisted him, full of tangled seaweed soaked from the rain. His clothes clung to him like second skin. Still he walked. Then through the pounding of rain and clash of waves, he heard it. A voice. Soft, strange and beautiful. The voice was singing, not a scream, not a cry, but a gentle song like it didn't belong to this world at all. Jide froze. His heartbeat thumbled loud in his ears, louder than the wind. He slowly turned towards the sound, and that's when he saw her. Far out, near a jagged black rock rising from the sea, sat a figure. She sparkled even through the rain. Her silver hair was long and dripping, resting down her back like flowing slick. Her skin had a soft blush subtle glow, like moonlight on water. But what made Jide's breath catch in his throat was her tail. It moved slowly, flicking drops of water with glittered emerald and silver, as if the ocean had given it its treasure. A mermaid? He blinked. Once, twice. No, he wasn't imagining it. She was there, sitting on the rock, crying. The kind of soft sobs you make when your heart is breaking and no one is listening. Jide stepped back. The stories came rushing to his mind. The old folk tales that the village elders used to tell when he was a child. Stories of water spirits, sea maidens, mermaids who sang to the lonely and vanished into foam. No one believed them anymore. Old talk, they say, fairy tales to scare children. But here she was, real, vulnerable, alone in the storm, just like him. And in that moment, as lightning struck behind her, framing her in a flash of pure light, Jide felt something shift in his chest. He didn't know who she was or why she was crying, but he knew one thing. That night, his life has changed forever. Jide couldn't sleep. All night, the image of her stayed in his mind. The beautiful tale, the voice like a lullaby, the sadness in her eyes. Even as the storm clouds cleared and sunlight danced across the waves, something inside him awoke. He walked to the shore just after dawn, his feet sinking into the wet sand. The sea looked calm now, innocent, as if it hadn't raged like a beast the night before. The rock where he saw her was empty, just a few sea fish resting, bobbling their heads in the water. Maybe I imagined her, he said to himself. Maybe it was just the storm playing tricks on me. But his heart didn't believe that. So that night, after the village had gone quiet and the fishermen were home with their families, Jide returned to the beach. The moon hung low, casting silver light on the dark water. He brought no lantern, no net, only his thoughts, his questions, and a quiet hope. He sat near the rocks, the same one he had seen her on. The waves rolled in slowly, licking the shore with gentle whispers. Time passed. He didn't move. He just listened. Then he heard it again, a melody, soft and low, like a sigh from the ocean itself. He stood slowly. I know you are there, he called out, his voice steady. The singing stopped. A stillness came over the sea, then ripples. Just a few at first, then more. The surface of the water smeared, and from the gentle waves she rose. Her hair was long with silver color, clinging to her shoulders like silk. Her skin glowed faintly beneath the moonlight, but it was her eyes that held him, like the heart of the sea itself. For a while, she said nothing. You shouldn't be here, she said finally, her voice barely louder than breeze. Jide swallowed hard. Neither should you, he answered. That made her smile, just a little, like a secret only the ocean knew. I came back because I had to know, Jide said. I had to know if I imagined you. And now that you know, she asked, her head tilted gently. I want to know more, Jide said. She was quiet. The waves brushed against the rocks behind her, as if waiting for her to decide. After a long pause, she spoke. My name is Nia. I'm Jide, he said, taking a step closer, careful not to frighten her. The moon bathed them both in pale light, and time seemed to stretch between them like the tide itself. They talked about the sea, about the village. Jide told her how he had grown up near the shore, raised by a father who believed the ocean gave and took what it wanted. He told her how lonely it had been since his parents passed. She also told him about the deep places beneath the waves, the deep coral places that glowed with light, sea turtles older than the oldest men, and mermaids who feared the world above. And yet, here she was. "I'm not supposed to come this close to land," she said softly. "Then why did you?" "I saw you once," she admitted. "You were looking down on the rocks. You were singing to yourself while pulling in your net. You looked sad." He blinked. "You were watching me." "Only for a moment," she whispered. "But that moment stayed with me." The waves grew quieter, and the stars shone brighter as they talked. Neither of them wanted the night to end. When the tide finally rose high enough to touch her waist, Nia sighed. "I have to go," she said. "Will I see you again?" "Maybe," she said, "but only if you keep our secrets." Jide nodded. "I promise." She looked at him one last time, eyes full of something soft and dangerous, something like hope, and then she slipped beneath the water without a sound. Jide stood there for a long time after she was gone. He didn't bring a net that night, but somehow he had caught something much deeper, something that would change everything. Every night without fail, Nia came to the shore. It became their secret rhythm. As the sun disappeared behind the hills and the last fishing boat returned to the harbor, Jide would make his way to the quiet place of the beach, the place with smooth rocks and gentle waves. He always carried old lantern, the one with the chipped glass and rusted handle. It flickered like a heartbeat, steady and warm. And there she would be, Nia, hair dripping with seawater, eyes glowing like two tiny moons, and a voice that felt like wind brushing through palm trees. Sometimes she would rise from the water slowly, as if the sea hated to let her go. Other times she would be sitting on a smooth rock, humming a tune that made the night feel alive. Jide would settle onto the sand beside her, and they talk, really talk. He told her stories of his life on land, how he hated waking up at 5 a.m. to pull in heavy nets, how Mama Titi at the store always gave him an extra slice of bread because she reminded her of her late son. Jide spoke about the village square where children played football barefoot until their toes bled. He spoke of his late father and how the old man used to sing when fishing, even when the sea gave him nothing. Nia listened, like the stories were treasure. Then she would tell hers. She spoke of the coral kingdoms deep beneath the waves, where jellyfish floated like lanterns and sea turtles carried message from one reef to another. She described silver places where merfolks danced to the rhythm of the ocean's currents. She told Jide about the Sea King, about the ancient and wise being who would calm storms with a whisper. "You're not afraid of me?" she asked one night, her voice barely louder than the waves. Jide smiled, brushing sand from his palm. "No," he said. "You feel more real than anything else in this world." She smiled back, but there was sadness in her eyes, because the both of them knew it wasn't supposed to be this way. Jide never told anyone, not even Olo, his best friend, who had stood by him since they were boys chasing frogs in muddy puddles. Not Mama Titi, who always sensed when something was on his mind. One night, Nia didn't appear. Jide waited until the moon was high, Then finally she emerged, but slowly with fear in her eyes. "They know," she whispered. "Who?" "The sea council, my kind. They sense I've been coming here too often." Jide's heart pounded. "What happens now?" "I'm forbidden to come here again. If I come back again on land, they will punish me." Jide clenched his fists. "So that's it, just like that." "I had to warn you," she said. "They will try to make me forget you." Then he stepped back, tears rising. "Please don't go, Nia." She reached out, her fingers brushing his cheek. "I don't want to," she said, voice cracking. And just like that, she slipped back into the sea. Jide returned to the beach every night, but Nia was gone. The rock sat empty. The waves came and went. He tried fishing. He tried sleeping. He even tried to forget, but nothing worked. Olu noticed. "You look sick," he said. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Jide lied. "You've been going to the beach a lot lately. Is there anything you see there?" Jide said nothing. Weeks passed. Then one morning, something smeared on the sand. It was a single shell, small, purple and glowing faintly. Inside it, a voice echoed, "Help me." Jide didn't sleep the night after Nia disappeared. He sat on the shore long after the stars faded, his heart pounding like the waves. The glowing shell she had left behind paused gently in his hands. It wasn't cold or warm. It was alive, and it hummed with her magic. Every time it paused, it whispered to him in a way only his soul understood. "Come find me," the voice said. By dawn, Jide had made up his mind. He was going after her. He didn't know how or what he would face, but he couldn't just sit and wait anymore. Not while she was out there, somewhere deep in the heart of the sea. So with no map, no fear, Jide began building. He found old barrels, driftwood and leftover fishing rope. Piece by piece, he built a raft strong enough to float. The villagers stared as he walked. Mama Titi shook her head. "This boy has gone mad." Olu tried to stop him. "Jide, where are you going? There's nothing out there but sharks and salt water." Jide didn't answer. How could he explain a love that began with a song? How could he describe a girl who wasn't supposed to exist? He only said, "I have to go." And he went, with nothing but a raft, a fishing spear, and the glowing shell tied around his neck. Jide pushed off from the shore. The journey was silent, lonely. Just him, the ocean, and the sky that stretched forward. The shell grew brighter at night, pulling him forward like a star. He sailed past coral reefs and flying fishes. He saw creatures he'd never imagined. Jellyfish, floating lanterns, dolphins dancing in the moonlight, and shadows beneath the water that watched him silently. But on the third night, everything changed. The wind picked up. The sea turned angry again, like the night they first met. Dark clouds rolled in fast, covering the moon. Then came the wave. It hit like a mountain, lifting the raft into the sky before slamming it back down. Wood snapped, barrels flew. Jide held on, but another wave crushed the raft completely. He plunged into the sea. Everything turned cold and black. He couldn't tell which way was up. The water roared in his ears. His arms grew heavy. He tried to swim, but something pulled at him. Maybe his own fear or the sea itself. His eyes closed, and then light. Blue, bright and soft, like a dream. Through the darkness, something moved. It was Nia. She reached for him, wrapped her arms around him, and dove deep into the sea, faster than anything he ever seen. Around them, glowing tunnels opened like magic, walls of coral that lit the way up, fish that scattered in the sparkling bursts, currents that guided them down. Jide felt warmth return. He wasn't afraid anymore. He felt safe. When he woke, everything was quiet. He wasn't floating. He wasn't drowning. He was just lying down. His eyes opened slowly. Above him, soft lights danced like stars. He reached out and touched something beneath him. It was soft, sleeky seaweed, shaped like a bird. He sat up, coughing gently. The water around him moved like air. It felt strange, but he could breathe. He was breathing underwater. But how? He whispered. A familiar voice answered, calm and gentle. You are in my world now. It was her, Nia. She floated beside him, her tail flicking lazily behind her, her silver hair moving like waves. Jide stared at her. Then around the room, it wasn't a room exactly, but a glowing cave filled with plants and crystal-like coral. Fish with golden fins swarmed silently. This is your home? He asked, his voice sounding different beneath the sea. One of them, she said. Not many are allowed here, but I had to bring you. You would have died. Jide looked down at his hands. How am I breathing? She reached out and touched the shell hanging from his neck. The shell, it protects you. As long as you wear it, the seal will know you. He looked into her eyes. But why risk it? You could have left me. She smiled, but her eyes were sad. I tried to stay away. I tried to follow the rules, but I couldn't let you go. Silence passed between them, thick with things they weren't ready to say. Jide nodded slowly. Then I guess I'm staying. Nia hesitated. Jide, this world is beautiful, but it's also dangerous. There are those who won't accept you. There are those who will punish me. Then let them, he said. I'd rather face them than spend one night wondering if you are safe. Nia looked at him for a long time, and then softly she said, Then come, there's more to say. She reached for his hand, and together they swam deeper into a world no one had ever seen. And Jide, the fisherman, who once only dreamed of love, was now living a story even the sea could not forget. Nia brought Jide to a place she had never showed anyone from the surface. a secret reef hidden beneath the deepest fold of the ocean. It was breathtaking. The coral here wasn't just colorful, it pulsed like living jewels, deeper than the sky and glowing green that lit the water around them. Soft beams of light danced between the swagging sea grasses, and tiny jellyfish floated past like glowing lanterns. Jide stared, stunned. "This is your home?" Nia nodded. "It's a sanctuary. Even the sea gods barely come this far." A giant turtle guided overhead, slow and peaceful. Jide floated beside her, unharmed, unafraid. Around his neck hung the silver pendant she had given him, warm against his chest, allowing him to breathe like he belonged there. He reached out to touch a coral branch, but it moved, softly alive, like it was listening. "I used to come here when I was little," Nia whispered, brushing her fingers along the coral. "Before the palace, before the rose, this place reminds me who I really am." Jide smiled. "Then I'm glad you brought me." But their peace didn't last. A ripple tore through the water like a silent scream. From the shadows emerged a dark earl, long with scales that glittered like oil. His eyes were sharp as knives, and coiled around his body was a scroll sealed in black wax. He circled once before hissing, "The Sea King summons your return, Princess Nia." Jide's eyes widened. "Princess?" Nia sighed. "I didn't want you to see me as that. I wanted to be just me." The earl voice turned colder. "You are bound by blood and law. You have defiled both. The king will not tolerate rebellion." Nia floated higher, her eyes steady. "Tell my father I am not coming back." The earl hissed sharply. "Then he will punish you and the boy." Jide stepped forward, planting his feet on a flat coral rock, voice firm despite the water all around him. "She's not alone." The earl sneered. "A fisherman doesn't frighten the sea." "Maybe not," Jide replied, "but love can move even the tide." For a moment, the reef grew still. Even the fish seemed to stop swimming. Then, with a flick of its tail, the earl vanished into a swarm of black ink. Silence returned. Nia turned to Jide slowly, her eyes smeared, not with fear, but with strength and relief. "You're not afraid?" she asked. He reached for her hand. "Not as long as I'm with you." She smiled, a smile full of gratitude and love. "I'm not afraid anymore," she said softly. And for the first time in her life, she meant it. But the Sea King would not be ignored. Word of Nia's defense spread like wildfire through the undercurrents of the ocean. Whales whispered of it. Dolphins carried it across tides. The daughter of the Sea King had chosen a human. To the king, it was betrayal. To the sea, it was a warning. So he answered with rage. The sky darkened without warning. Thunder cracked like drums of war. Winds tore through the village, lifting rooftops, snapping trees like twigs. The sea boiled with fury. waves rising taller than houses. Fishermen ran from the shore. Mothers clutched their children. The village had never seen anything like that, but Jide knew what it meant. It wasn't a storm, it was a message. The Sea King had declared war on love. That night, Jide stood at the beach, his heart pounding like the angry surf. "Nia," he shouted, his voice lost in the wind. "Where are you?" No answer. He turned to run back, but then, through the rain, a bright light shot up from the sky. It was Nia, rising from the waves like a goddess, her arms lifted towards the clouds. The rain didn't touch her. The lightning bent around her. She was trying to hold it back. "I had to prove love isn't weakness," she cried, her voice cracking through the storm. The sea hollowed louder, resisting her. Lightning struck just inches from her. Her body trembled. Her silver hair floated around her like a halo. Her tail flickered weakly. Blood clouded the water, and then she fell. Her strength gave out. She plummeted into the sea like a star losing its fire. Jide didn't think, he just ran. He dove headfirst into the raging waves. The ocean pushed him down, pulled him sideways, swung him like a leaf. But he didn't care. He kicked. He fought. He screamed her name through the salt and foam. "Nia!" Then he saw her, sinking. Her body floated like slake in slow motion. Arms spread, eyes closed. He reached her, wrapped his hands around her, and held her close. "Nia! Nia, please stay with me," he gasped, choking back seawater. "Don't leave me. Don't leave me, Nia." Her head rested against his shoulder. Then her eyelids fluttered. "You came back," she whispered, barely a breath. Tears mixed with the seawater as Jide laughed, holding her tighter. "I told you, Nia, I'm never leaving you." She smiled weakly, pressing her forehead to his. Above them, the sun began to fade. Clouds peeled away. Stars returned to the sky. Even the waves grew calm. Somewhere deep in the ocean, the Sea King watched in silence. And for the first time in 1,000 years, he lowered his trident. Love had passed the test. Nia woke slowly, her body aching, her mind swimming in confusion. Everything felt different. The light was softer, the air was heavy like water, but she could breathe. She blinked up at the ceiling made of glowing shells, moving gently as if alive. Walls of swirling water smeared with schools of succulent fish. The scent of salt and coral filled her senses. She was in the Sea King's palace, and beside her was Jide, kneeling, soaking wet, trembling yet unafraid. His hands were chained with glowing seaweed, and around him stood guards, mere folks with sharp spears and cold, unblinking eyes. "Nia," he whispered, his voice cracking with relief as his eyes met his. She reached out to him, but before their fingers could touch, the floor shook, then parted. A tall figure emerged, cloaked in shadows and power. The Sea King. His body smeared with ocean blue light. His beard was made of flowing curls. His crown was carved from the bones of ancient sea beasts. But it was his eyes that silenced the room, spinning endlessly with fury and time. You dare bring a man into my court? His voice boomed like crashing waves. Nia struggled to sit up. I brought him because I love him. Whispers swept across the chamber like a current. Guards shifted. Counters gasped. But the Sea King did not blink. You broke the oldest law of the deep, he groaned. No union between sea and land. Do you understand what you've done? I understand, Nia said, her voice steady. But I don't regret it. Jide stepped forward, tugging at his chains. She risked everything for me. I would do the same for her. The Sea King turned his gaze on Jide. You don't belong here, boy. Your lungs were not made for this world. Your heart beats with earth and blood. Without our magic, you would drown. Then give me a choice, Jide said boldly, his voice echoing in the chamber. Don't banish me. Let me earn my place. The court gasped again. Even Nia looked up in surprise. The Sea King's eyes narrowed. He studied Jide in silence. A ripple passed through the water, as though the sea itself was waiting. Very well, the king finally said, rising to his full height. His voice rumbled like distant thunder. If you truly wish to stay, you must face the trial of tides. Jide clenched his jaw. What is it? A test, the king replied, of strength, of heart and truth. It will push you to the edge of yourself. If you survive, you may remain by her side. And if I fail? Jide asked. The Sea King's voice was a whisper now, low, cold and final. Then the sea will claim you forever. The next morning, the sea was silent. No fish swam near the palace gates. No whispers passed through the coral court. Even the current stood still, as though the entire ocean held its breath. Jide stood alone at the edge of a vast underground arena, carved into a sunken crater. Above him, spiraling jellyfish cast a haunting glow. Around him, mere folks gathered like ghosts in the mist, their expressions unreadable. He won nothing but the pendant Nia had given him, and courage burning in his chest. Nia wasn't allowed to stand beside him. She watched from a distance, held back by guards and chains, her heart pounding louder than the sea drums. The Sea King rose on a throne of stone and sea glass, towering above the crowd. Begin, he declared. The water shifted. A gate cracked open from the deep trench below, and then came the first test. A whirlpool exploded beneath Jide's feet, pulling him into a spiral of rushing waters. Inside, voices surrounded him, echoes from his past, his mother's laughter, his father's shout the night he drowned, the villagers mocking his lonely life, the guilt, the loss. Jide fought to hold on. He screamed, but no one heard. "Why are you here, human?" the sea whispered. "I came for love," he shouted. The ripple stilled. He landed gently on a bed of sea moss. Test 1 passed. From the shadows, a monstrous shape emerged, a sea creature with armor and eyes that burned like coals. It roared, sending waves ripping through the arena. The crowd gasped. Nia clutched her chest. Jide had no weapon, only instinct. He ducked, dodged, rolled over jagged coral. The beast lunged, snapping with rows of jagged teeth. Jide grabbed a shard of coral and drove it into the creature's eyes. It whirled. Blood, black and thick, colored the water. The beast sank. Silence followed. Test 2 passed. Jide floated in sudden darkness, alone. No words, no sound, just him. And then Nia appeared. But she wasn't real. She smiled coldly, her eyes empty. "You will never belong," she said. "You will lose everything." Behind her, the Sea King appeared. "This is your final chance. Return to your world and I will spare her." Jide's heart ached, tears foaming in his eyes. He fell to his knees. "I would rather drown beside her than live without her." Light burst through the water. The illusion vanished. A voice, gentler now, filled the space. "You have spoken truth." The arena leaped with golden coral. The crowd rose, turned. Nia swam to Jide, tears flowing down her cheeks. She wrapped her arms around him. He was bleeding, bruised, barely able to hold her, but he smiled. "You came back," she whispered. "I never left," he said. The Sea King stood. The ocean trembled. This human has faced the tides and returned with truth. He raised his hand. "I grant him passage." The crowd cheered. Nia kissed Jide's forehead, her body glowing like pearl light. From that day on, the sea had a new story. A tale of a boy from the shore and a mermaid who loved him enough to rewrite the laws of the land. And so, the boy from the shore and the girl from the sea rewrote the laws of two worlds. They were not supposed to meet. They were not supposed to love. But love, like the tide, cannot be controlled. In the deepest part of the ocean, beneath coral castles and whispering waves, their story lives on. If you ever walk by the shore at night, listen closely. You just might hear a song, a love song, carried on the wind from a mermaid and her fisherman. If you enjoyed this story, do well to subscribe and like this video. Let me know in the comment section what you think Nia would have done. Your support helps us to bring these stories alive.